on this side and this side, you have to manipulate or activate the joints so that you can let your body kind of float into a position and float into the position. First, as a consciousness of that, and the second is that you feel the joint shifting and moving over so you can move your center of mass over a supporting leg. That's called the substantial leg. The unsubstantial leg is the side that becomes lighter. That's the side that's going to take your step, depending on what you're planning to do with your legs. Move forward, move sideways. These are all ideas that is tied to this type of training. So the Tai Chi Paradigm is a bunch of exercises that teaches you patterns and coordination and integration of body for the Tai Chi form. But some of the exercises are not necessary for this type of training, for walking and so forth. But to learn the form, you actually have to do the whole list of exercises done typically. You can do that by watching YouTube, or we actually have those on our website. But the thing is, YouTube has most of those videos. You can watch them if you have time and follow it to the extent that you can do all these exercises and more. But with this is really targeted and specific to what I think you need to kind of help prevent some of the issues that you may have with the Parkinson's disease. Some of it is stiffness, walking, and so forth. Now, balance is something that we try to improve on, but if your legs are rigid, and I was talking about this in the last class, if they're like stilts and you're standing on stilts, you really have not much control over toppling, right? Because they're so stiff, they can't respond. Well, if from the sole of your feet to your hip becomes rigid, then you're just going to fall forward. So what's important is to be able to control the lower half of your body to either capture yourself or, capture yourself or sort of reset or recover from an initial stumble or something like that. Or tripping is usually your foot gets caught and then you end up going forward. So if you trip and your body weight, your center of gravity is here, the tendency to fall is going to be much more likely because you're top heavy. You may not be quick enough to recover, or you may not be strong enough to, absorb the shock of the impact when you go down. So best thing to do is try not to go down, and the way to try to avoid that is to work your legs, work your knees, and then loosen the body. So the things that we did, turning, will help you develop some flexibility and some torso agility. The side-to-side bend will help you relieve some of the tension that might be built here. So everything that we're doing in regard to the shoulders, the shoulder girdle, the chest area is all about getting this more nimble, kind of looser in the sense that you have somewhat of a control. It's not easy to develop torso control, but you have to start somewhere. And these exercises are really geared and formatted specifically for creating motion. And everything is making little circles. So just remember, everything is rounding, getting it to become fluid, continuity. All of these things are part of the action, right? So once we get to this position, we're going to loosen up the neck a little bit by turning side to side. Now, any of these exercises, you can do more of them on your own. If you feel some tension in the shoulders or in this area, best thing to do is move your head. You go back and forth. Don't have to use a lot of strength. You don't have to lock it out and sustain it. Just pass through. If you can go up and down, do a half a dozen or so, tilt, tilt, tilt. And you can feel the stretch. And what the stretch is when this goes this way, this muscle wants to tighten. And you have to relax it to go, and then you have to switch it. So that give and take becomes a balance in the musculature, but you also have to kind of move it. And we move, or the idea of movement is to stimulate circulation. So all these areas that are very tight have poor circulation. And it's poor circulation because movement is what helps circulation. So the thing is, move everything. Your whole body should move. But if we don't get up and stand on our feet and then move our legs, now this is a shoulder roll. 5, 6, 7, 8. Now we'll go the opposite direction. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now I don't know if you can see through that mirror, but if you look at that mirror, you can see that my shoulders are moving. The back of my shoulder blades and the clavicle area, this whole area is part of that shoulder girdle. If you move it, then it's going to stimulate circulation because the muscles are gently moving. And remember, everything is gentle. Don't use a lot of strength. And in the beginning, maybe it's even hard to make a circle. It feels kind of broken like this because movement is programmed and movement is learned and movement is understood up here. You have to kind of tell your shoulder to do this, and it may not cooperate right away, but you have to do it. So the more you do it, the easier it gets. Every circle that we're making, if you have trouble making that simple circle, then you keep doing it until it gets rounder and rounder and rounder. And just the circle alone, while we're focusing on the waist doing this motion, just like you're kind of spinning a hula hoop, it's not as aggressive as that, but that's kind of the motion. But while you're shifting from side to side, your weight is actually going from side to side. And you're controlling that through your reflexes and your proprioception and so forth, because you're in a specific space, so you just kind of get your body to gently move like that, okay? Now another movement we're going to do is this arm swing. So what we're going to do is get our arms parallel like this. So what we did earlier was a circle and an arc, and then we crossed our arms. Now we have our hands like this. This is our hanging position or a square position, parallel position, and we press down and release, press down and release, press down and release. You look at the back mirror or the side mirror, you see the hands press and release, press and release. Now you press, put a little effort, and then let it free fall. Press, free fall, press, free fall. 1, 2, exhale, inhale. Breathe through your nose. So you exhale on the backstroke where there's a little effort. Let it go. Exhale. Now this is in. You press, exhale, inhale on the down, exhale, and just cycle through like that. So there's a little control between the breath and movement. So you might have to think a little bit about it, kind of pay attention to it till it becomes something that you can do without thinking. And you know, I understand sometimes the subconscious behavior doesn't work as well if you have Parkinson's, but the thing is, so you just pay attention to it. Look at the movement or feel. Your arms actually swing like this when you walk. So one of the things that we don't use our shoulders and swing our arms enough to get circulation in the lower extremities and also to get your body in motion. Now, even though it's not a lot of movement, your body is still responding to the fact that you're standing and you're counteracting this motion as an action. So here, press and release, press and release. Now breathe through your nose, both inhalation, exhalation. Tongue touches the roof of your mouth. Swallow if you have to, because when you do this and you breathe through the nose and tongue touches the roof of your mouth, you may accumulate more saliva because of the state of mind that you're in. And it's just clearing your mind and trying to do this motion, and you're done with that. Okay, deep breathing again. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. exhale. Okay, the next thing I want to do is the geometry of position. So we have the horizontal, okay, the square, and the triangle. So the triangle is really when we separate the hands, and if you look in the side mirror, we have a hand by the elbow and a hand in front of the nose. So I have my left hand up and I turn by kicking my heel out into this direction. Okay, I bring my hands together. Here's your triangle, the circle, slanting down, and the push. Okay, I can go down and poke. That becomes more movements. But the thing is, if it's too complicated to do too many of these, go to the triangle, pivot to the side. My right foot is up. My elbows are out. There's your circle. That's like the first exercise. You bring it down and you push. Bring it down and you turn the palms up and thrust. So that's the full set of movements. And if you have trouble, just do 3 of them. 1, 2, down, and out. So there's the push. Now if you do all of them, there would be a couple of more, but if we just turn and go forward, 1, 2, 3, you could build off of that the first 3 movements. 1, 2, 3, then we bring the palms together and we're back to center. We turn to the other side. So this gets your hands and your legs and your hands working. So this is, we can move to the other exercise when you're ready to do more movements back and forth. So that's a sampling of the 3 motions, the triangle and the hoop we did, and the square. But if we bring it into the same 3 movements and add 3 more, we bring it down and we poke, okay? And then we open up like this and then turn back to center. So you always have this format, 45-degree corner and center line, all right? So this is when you pull down and poke like this, there's your palms together. That's turning your palms open, just like opening a book or closing a clamshell, opening and closing. It's just a pivotal point. Now, the 3 movements is 1, 2, and 3. If you added a 4th one, it would be this, a 5th one, and you're here. So that would be the 3 additional movements. If we pivot the feet, we're going 1, 2, 3, back to center. The other side is 1, 2, 3, back to center, 1, 2. So if I switch, 1, 2, 3. Okay, we'll go back to center. So that's just the 3 movements with the legs. And I think this is something you would be able to follow. If it's too many of them, you might find it too complicated, and then you get confused. So the add-ons would be the next section. So just want to leave you with those 3. That's fairly simple for you to do, because if it's too complicated, you're not going to do it. So with that said, I want to do a few more type of shifting of weight and leg work so that we can have this idea of moving the front foot and the back and forth. So this is like walking and turning your torso like this. So the foot and the hand is opposite. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that actually builds some coordination. This leg is holding your weight. You're not doing that. This is just sort of the pillar, and you're moving from here to here, from here to here, So if you see in the side view, it's just forward and back. We don't really put much weight on this leg. This is your insubstantial leg, but you want to coordinate the hand and the leg together because that's actually how we walk. So if you understand when you walk that this is the action, then we want to build that hand and leg relationship. If I'm here and I move my foot and I move my hand and I move my foot and I move my hand, that builds that relationship. Your body and the upper body is slightly turning and twisting. It's keeping your body in motion. And you're sustaining yourself here to improve balance, improve a bit of strength in that side of the leg. So each side is working, and you don't have to do a ton of these. You just have to do maybe a half a dozen, a dozen. Don't do more than 24 on each side, and you could do that each and every day. That's really going to help your coordination and your little bit of twisting, but at the same time you're stimulating. The most essential part of movement is circulation. Circulation is the key to bringing in nutrients, oxygen to your brain, to your body, all over. Your whole body needs to be stimulated to bring those fluids around, bringing the oxygen to your cells, nutrients to your cells. Everything is just bringing blood throughout the body. And so that's really important. Now, when we stand in a position like this in the shoulder width stance, we make circles, right? So when our hands are here, we make a series of circles like this. So I'm not going to do the opposite way, which is this. I'm just going to do one direction. One. So it's fairly easy to follow. You start off in this lower hoop position, right? Then you go to vertical. Then you turn it out to the side. And then you merge it back in the fingertips. And you go up and down, up and down, up and down. So those two circles are fairly easy. And then we're going to go this way. One. So this is offset timing. This is paired up together as a pair. Now I'm going to do this side, drop it down, and this side. So I didn't bring in right or left simply because that would, you start to think about this. So just copy the side of the hand that I'm doing and then do this side. This mirror image, and you just follow along. And then eventually the hands will synchronize, and then you go from side to side. So we're just building patterns and movements, integration of the two sides, because the body is, in relationships. The right and left is working together, and believe it or not, it goes all the way down to the soles of your feet, because when you shift, your feet are actually working too. So let's, this cloud hands usually has some side stepping and working. So I'm going to do 3 drills: forward walking, turning the corner, and some side movement. And this will be it for the video. So when we move to the side, we can hold our hands like this just to get an idea. We move 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that's sidestepping. That actually happens in cloud hands. Where this hand is vertical, vertical, and vertical. So this goes with this goes with this. When I switch back, it's here, switch, it's here, and I switch, it's here. So this elbow goes with this leg, this elbow goes with this leg, and you sidestep. So sidestepping even if your hands are here, 1, 2, 3. If you want to move your hand, 1, 2, 3. You go the other way, 1, 2, 3. So that's something different. That's actually sidestepping, and the reason why I bring that up is because sometimes someone has trouble turning corners, also entering an aisle, like if you're going to a movie, or which you can't do today, or the plays, or maybe going into a corridor where you have to kind of sidestep, and then you lose your perspective as to how to do that. Well, the way to do that is you shift your weight, move your weight over that foot, and you move the opposite one. Bring the weight to this foot, and then move the unweighted leg. And you move this way, shift the weight, and then you move, and then you shift the weight. And what you have to do is not look over there. You already determined that there's an aisle there and it's clear, so you're aware of that, but you may look forward to see between there and there what that relationship is to move across. So you're measuring visually the line that's in front of you to see where you're going, and that gives you a reference. We have to reference target positions. So if you want to go from point A to point B, you look in that direction, gaze in it, and then you have a mindset that we're walking in that direction. And then we go backwards and forward. Now, the drill I teach is to make a circle clockwise, go forward, 1, 2, 3. Then we go backwards, 1, 2, 3. So you go forward on your right, 1, 2, 3, and backward on your left, 2, 3, and you kind of shift the weight over the supporting foot in order to move 1, 2, 3. So it's 3 steps forward, 3 steps back, 3 steps forward, and 3 steps back. That's just a drill that you can do. Do that regularly every single day, just to get a sense of the forward movement and then the backward movement, with the hands working in conjunction with the legs. For an upper-lower relationship, forward is clockwise, backwards is counterclockwise. Okay, so that's just one drill, going forward, back. Going to the left, you move or right, depending. Going to the side, you would shift like that. You can go 3 times to here, then you go 3 times this way, 2, 3, until you're comfortable. Now your hands are here, you're not holding on to anything. But if you have something in front of you, a counter or a set of chairs, you might want to just sidestep in there just to get that experience, and through trial and error kind of figure that out. Now, pivoting, it's this. So my feet are together, not shoulder width, but like this. When I pivot this 45 degrees, that takes me into a corner. When I pivot this 45 degrees, that takes me into the corner. So that's simply in this position, square. If I pull my feet in like this and I turn, that's that position. So when my feet are about 2 or 3 inches apart and I turn, that's half of the position, and I shift my weight to this side and I'm ready to take that step. So if I shift this way and I shift, then I'm ready to take that step. So whichever way you steer your foot in as a direction, the opposite foot is going to be the one that takes the first step. If I shift this way, the opposite foot is ready to take the step. So that's the method that you should practice, because by practicing that method, then it gets you conscious and aware of how to move your feet. So when you get stuck in a position, you've already learned that as a skill. If I take this and turn 90 degrees, I'm going to go 90 degrees to the side. Now, if the corridor or the aisle that you have that you're going to go down is wide enough, you just turn the corner and walk in. But if it's kind of narrow and you have to shuffle across like this, then you would do the side step. the side step. Okay. So those are a couple of the exercises that I want you to practice, and if you practice them, you're going to improve on it, because all of these are motor skills, and motor skill is something that's important to learn the approach, not just copy a movement. Copying the movement, you get confused because you don't know where to start. This is pretty systematized, so you kind of work it the way I just told you, that you step up with your right, you 3 times, and you move back with your left, and then you coordinate your hands with this exercise. Then when you walk, you're able to do that. Going forward, backwards a little bit trickier, but don't worry about the backward movement. Just use it as an exercise, because typically if you're out in public or you're going somewhere, you're not going to go walking, you're not going to walk backwards. You're most of the time going to walk forward. So anyways, that's about it for today. Next Thursday is Thanksgiving, so we won't be open. We won't have the streaming there, but I think this videos will be valuable for you to continue to watch and use it next week, or anytime you have free time. Just go over it, try to work, not all of them if it's too much, but do some of them, and just do the walking and the sidestepping. I think that would be a big benefit to improving some of your mobility. On that note, I think it's about time. I'll see you next time. Have a good holiday.